King Charles faces his biggest headache since his coronation: how to expel Harry and Meghan. The fed-up royal puts her foot down and makes him choose sides. Hello everyone, welcome back to the King YouTube channel. According to sources close to King Charles, right now the king is facing quite a dilemma, trying to balance his own desires and also trying to maintain the monarchy. Facing enemies both inside and outside his relatives is causing him a big headache after his mother, the late queen, passed away. As we've talked about before, apparently Harry is becoming increasingly desperate in LA, and Meghan is becoming more and more aggressive in her pursuit of divorce. Meanwhile, the threat from Meghan's tell-all book requires the king to handle this situation the right way. Maybe King Charles enjoys taking his time and looking for kind solutions to the problem known as Harry and Meghan, but the lawyers are not going to put up with that. And it sounds like the real powerhouse in the royal family, William, is also losing his patience. Now, supposedly, this idea that Harry might be rehabilitated both within his family and in front of the British public is never going to happen. So King Charles's biggest decision facing him is to choose the right son to support, because he cannot support both anymore. And if you ask me, the palace is going to come out with the truth about those kids, and boy, is that going to ruin Meghan Markle if she's not already ruined. I mean, she's already done, both in the palace and in Hollywood. Doesn't sound like Harry's going to be coming home for Christmas either. Even though Meghan has been the driving force behind the worst of their behavior, Harry has been the enabler this whole time. He has allowed her to act awful, and in some instances, her behavior certainly eclipsed his. He has allowed her to manipulate him, to lie, to cheat, and he joined in whenever he could. So many people are saying his responsibility in all this should not be watered down. It doesn't care of who he has been, a decent member of the royal family. His backstory should not just give him a pass. He was the enabler to all her ugliness, and he is responsible for a lot of his own as well, towards his own family. And it's not only his family, Harry also encouraged Meghan to treat her own father like crap. The truth is, people are usually pretty fickle, so there are going to be plenty who forget about how horrible they are. At her age, if Meghan Markle really wants to still get work in Hollywood, she would actually need to be a talented actress. It's a really difficult market for older actresses, so there's no way somebody like Meghan is going to make it. Meghan does seem to be very competitive, but what exactly is her talent in this made-up competition? She's not a good podcaster. I mean, she definitely doesn't have good fashion sense. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure what Meghan does, except trying to suck the life out of her husband and clinging to him. I mean, pretty unoriginal of her if you ask me. She claims to be this big feminist. I don't see it. Anytime we see a story about Meghan and Harry in the media, we got to remember they are manipulating everything. They are a couple of grifters. But these occasional stories can only last so long. They're basically the same as the boy who cried wolf. People are getting distracted. People are getting bored with them. And as far as any payoff for Meghan, oh, you know she's going to spend it in no time, and she's going to be right there back on the streets. She does talk big, but she can't deliver anything. There is no amount of money that's going to be enough for her because she's a narcissist. And in the end, when nobody is paying her any attention whatsoever, that's what's going to really destroy her. The only thing left for Meghan to use would be the invisible children, and now, of course, they've got those titles. And with today's computer-generated imagery, she could easily use Archwell Productions to create a whole storyline. She could create images of them for almost her whole life, and she could probably make a decent amount of money off that. But let's just hope that Meghan Markle isn't expecting to live a long time, because that one's going to have a time limit. Divorce or no divorce, I'm afraid we've still got a little longer before the show is finally going to come to an end. But I'm just happy that we've got this space for ourselves where we can talk about all this, talk about how absurd it is. And boy, some of your comments are absolutely hilarious. Now, most of the time, the whole saga is pretty boring, and sometimes there are moments of cringeworthy, funny news. But the times of hilarity are growing way too far apart. We need something to change because this slow-motion train wreck we have been watching is getting a little dull. So in yesterday's video, I was saying that the royal family has nothing to fear from Meghan Markle. Let's hear what you had to say about this opinion. The first comment I want to share comes from Susan Roberts. I just love this. Susan says, didn't buy or read Harry's book and ditto for anything she puts out. Our book club had one misguided member who was the sole vote in favor of our reading Harry's book Spare. Everyone voted her down, and we decided that we would do something for charity, something to benefit others. We each chipped in the cost of spare and donated the money to a local warming center so that the homeless could have new socks, underwear, and toiletries when they stayed at night. Much better than wasting money on Harry's Winch Fest. Susan, this is such a lovely story. Thank you for sharing. This is such an inspiration to, I hope, everybody. We need to think about where our money goes. I know I've canceled my Netflix subscription. I'm sure most of you have too. And I hope that everybody, even if they're curious about Harry's stupid book, can remember that money is probably better spent giving to charity. Harry and Meghan talk about charity, but they don't care about helping other people. I'm really glad to see that ordinary people like you, Susan, do care about helping people. And I'm sure those homeless people you helped were so appreciative of your generosity. The next comment I found interesting came from the Sofris. I think she thinks her past is erased completely, and that's why she's behaving this way. But I think the royal family is holding on to it for just the right time. I think the person that leaked stuff was Harry. He seems to not be able to keep his mouth shut on things. Ooh, I like this theory. It could be true. Now, I completely believe that the royal family has a lot of dirt on her, and I believe they are saving it until it's going to be most effective to let it out. And it could be that Harry is the one who's leaked a bunch of stuff. I mean, whether it's intentional or not, who knows? It could very well be what you said, that Harry just has a big old mouth that he cannot keep shut. And then a comment from Appreciation for Queen Elizabeth. Well, you have theft to be concerned about if they ever obtain access to your home or a place in a palace or castle. After all, money has become the basic drive that motivates them. Markle's behavior so closely resembles that of a psychopath that a warning is worthy of attention to both of them, as you know, I'm sure. You're bringing up a really good point. I mean, Harry, well, he's always had everything he wanted in life, so he doesn't need to steal. Meghan, on the other hand, oh, come on, somebody like her, somebody who has no morals, she's not above stealing. I mean, if she thinks it's going to benefit her, either in the short term or the long term, she's going to do it. And she's already proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that she has no conscience, and she does not care about right from wrong. So I agree with you, people need to watch out for her and not let her into their homes. All right, so now back to the main topic. Apparently, the problems with Charles are just continuing. Recently, supposedly, the king pulled his sister, Princess Anne, aside, and he talked about his plan to maybe try to bring his brother, Prince Andrew, back into the public eye. But an insider spoke with Woman's Day magazine, saying that straight-talking Anne shut him down immediately. As the hardest-working royal, she has never thought Andrew particularly pulled his weight, and she has known about his lazy lifestyle for decades, says a source of the 73-year-old. Who, as a palace insider has revealed, privately has a lot of influence over the king. The spy went on to say, I'm sure King Charles and Princess Anne both love Andrew as a brother, and he will always be welcome at family events. That's why he was recently staying at Balmoral. But I don't think the king can forget about the recent past and let him resume royal duties. And I'm sure Anne would agree with that and stop it if she thought Charles was weakening. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out why Anne wants to distance the family from Andrew. The royal source says Andrew doesn't drink, smoke, or take drugs, but it was his love of women that sadly drove him into a friendship with American businessman and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, and that was his downfall. And Andrew has had to pay quite a high price for his indiscretions. The source goes on to say he has lost his reputation, his job, his income, and he's scared to travel abroad in case he is arrested or has a civil summons served on him by someone else alleging sexual abuse. Last year, of course, Andrew came to an out-of-court settlement with alleged sex trafficking victim Virginia Giuffre. She accused him of having sex with her when she was only 17 years old, and the whole scandal was such a stress to the late queen in her final months. So now, after listening to Anne, the source claims that Charles understands that there may be no way back for Andrew after all. He does want him out of his home royal lodge at Windsor, shares the source. It is all part of his plan for a slimmed-down and cost-effective monarchy, and Andrew simply can't afford the bills to repair such a large house. But the royal source also says that some people are not really fans of Charles's decision to have fewer working royals. Harry and Meghan have left, and Andrew is out in the cold. So the others are having to work much harder, and everything rests on just a few working royals, according to the source. It makes for some awkward moments when they are together, such as at Balmoral. Recently, the family came together to honor the memory of the late queen, and the palace insider says they can see tensions rising and the show of unity will crack. Andrew is only 63, and it's not clear what he is expected to do with the rest of his life. But all the opinion polls show that he is at the very bottom. He's even beneath Harry and Meghan. so the public just wouldn't accept him having any royal duties, according to the source. It's a sad end for a man who was a hero during the Falklands War in 1982, but Andrew only has himself to blame, and Charles and Anne know that. And you, what do you think about this news? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments section. And if you preferred our video this evening, please don't forget to like and share it with your friends and relatives who would enjoy it anytime you want. Please don't forget to subscribe to our The King YouTube channel to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a lovely evening, and we'll be back to see you tomorrow. Bye. I love you all.